Welcome back to the LEC, and at the start of the show today, we probably didn't imagine that Rogue would finish off Mad Lions, and especially not in such winning fashion. Well, quite literally, they won. Guldborg, talk to us about that near flawless performance.
Yeah, but I feel like the thing that's really subverting expectations from this series was the fact that it wasn't Mad Lions just getting this normal early game lead that we're so used to seeing them get and then running away with it. It was actually Rogue that then took that lead into the mid game. They slowed the game down real hard. Either way, that's not the point. They still managed to keep it a little bit clean. They get one fight where they get picked off and you think it's a Rogue time. But it's not. They ace them afterwards and they get the win.
I love that you sound happy about Rogue time. That's not a good thing. It's like a G2 moment. We don't want Rogue time, at least if we're Rogue. No.
Yes, I think for me, the person that really stood out was Malrang, just because he was the first jungler I think we've seen successfully shut down what Elyoya likes to do in the early game. We saw Elyoya do a very traditional path he's been doing a lot of, which is 3 camps into gank. He tried to gank top. It then got shut down by Malrang. And it just felt like that he was doing a great job of mitigating and limiting a lot of what Elyoya does in the early game to propel Mad ahead, on top of the fact that we saw Kaiser on a Lulu, which is not something that gives him the same early game agency and roaming power that he typically has on other champions, meaning that same sort of synergy is not something that we got to see from Mad, which I think Rogue did a really good job of mitigating and locking down.
Well, I have to say, people watching the LEC now, they definitely got favourites, because I think this is the 5th time this man's name has been announced as the Kia player of the game. It is Mr. Ornn, a.k.a. Armut's worst nightmare. Absolutely bullying. That's Sejuani.
You're shaking your head, Vedius.
I hate Ornn now. I've just decided. He'll hear this. I know he will.
Because he's taking Malrang's thunder.
I hate you, Ornn, just so you know. Stealing Kia player of the games. You guilted fans for so many years, and now you've gotten too many. It's unjust.
To be fair, we did that on broadcast as well.
Shut up.
Okay.
Are you quite finished?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure? Because we've actually got a really important, exciting game to talk about right now. It's actually our final game of the day. No, today feels like it's been incredibly speedy. This one could be speedy too. It's XL versus G2, and it's definitely going to be one you'll be glad you waited for, as the two teams are currently neck and neck in the standings with 7 wins. And really, it's kind of a case of G2, obviously, champions of Spring Split, versus XL, who didn't make playoffs last time round?
Yeah, so I think for sure there's a new side from both teams coming into this game, and wow, that's a lot of G2 fans there. I heard from Nightmare that a lot of G2 fans have traveled all the way from Belgium out here, and that's currently what we're seeing here.
You've done this show before, there's always G2 fans.
Yeah, but not like this. Like, look at them, they're just dancing around, they're jumping and...
They're Belgians, they like to do that. They eat a lot of chocolate, a lot of waffles, that's sugar. That's a high, it makes you bounce.
I will say, though, that coming into today, G2 are not the favorites. Like, based on their recent performance, even though they had a pretty solid week last week, there is so much doubt around their early game right now. And they're going up against a team that is so dominant in the early game. You look at some of these early game stats, first tower percentage, first dragon percentage, gold difference at 14, kills plus deaths at 14. It's just, there's a lot of not great numbers there, and that's only a fraction of really what's happening in the game as well, where we're seeing no early game control. Their early game is comparable to BDS's, arguably worse based on the split, which is not really a stat that you really want to be compared.
Statistically, it is worse, Vedius. Like, G2 fans, everyone needs to get this into their head. G2's early game, like, it is worse than BDS on some fronts, and I think that really speaks to how catastrophic it's been at times. That doesn't mean that it's fully alarm bells and all that just yet, because they are coming in, hopefully with a new patch as well, where they've finally had some time to stabilize themselves. But if they do not manage to fix their early games, they won't fix the other issues, because they just continuously fall too far behind.
Can we also talk about the fact that G2 are not necessarily playing around bot at the moment? We're going further, deeper still into a bot-focused patch. Is it because BrokenBlade is such a monster in that top lane, or is it just a lack of flexibility?
Well, he definitely is a monster in the top lane. He is the type of player that will try to counterpick you. He's a player that has typically, throughout his career, demanded resources. And when we look at G2's typical approach, it's difficult to invest resources in all 3 lanes, so you have to make a choice. And Flakked as a player has always been quite happy to just sit back and kind of play the more passive approach, allow his support to roam away while he plays a little bit solo. And to be fair, today has suggested that it's not just been about trying to play through your bot lane. So perhaps our early expectations are not quite coming to the way that we expected them to. But in any case, it's still an area of the map that you have to be careful of, because you are going up against Patrik and Mikyx, who at the start of the season, at the very least, were fighting and contending to be that best bot lane in Europe.
And while they might not be paying attention G2 themselves down towards the bot side, they haven't had all too much success lately playing up towards that top side. I think lately as well, some of that draft haven't really been facilitating that. You know, they've been playing the Viego into Poppy, and they had Aurelia top side. It's difficult to play off of that top lane as well. And then you had Flakked down on the Kai'Sa Nautilus with no front line in these instances. So I think when you're playing in this game, if you're not playing for the bot lane, I think it's very important you put Flakked back on these positions he was so comfortable on in spring, which was the likes of a Vedius, where you could still be a good menace towards the mid to late game, but you didn't need to get too many resources because you had the scaling on your side. Problem is then, can you weather the storm that will be Excel's bot lane, and not just their bot lane, but also Markoon coming down here, because you've been talking about picks like Pantheon as well.
I really want to see Pantheon.
But I heard Markoon say Pantheon was like not really good right now, so I don't think this is the game you're getting.
I hope he was lying to you, because pros do that a lot.
They do that, you're right.
But I think that what we've seen today is teams haven't quite shifted a new approach just yet. They are still sticking to what they know, what they're comfortable with. We're still seeing a lot of Wukongs, Nas. We expected Talia to still be a high priority. But to me, the biggest clash of styles that we see with these two teams is that Patrik will blind pick Draven. He'll also blind pick Kalista. That's not going to happen on the side of G2. Excel finds a lot of success through their bot side of the map. And Kadril, when he was the jungler for Patrik, even on Euphoria, you probably heard him say, yeah, my whole plan was I get Patrik fed, he's the bus driver, right? And I think that across the board for G2, you look a lot more at their mid-jungle top side. These are the players that need to stand up. These are the ones that need those resources to carry. And in recent weeks, especially in the early game, they haven't been able to do it. So the questions for G2 is, can they get a successful early game? Have they been able to use this week to fix some of those issues that have really plagued them for a lot longer than just this split? Or will XL be able to dominate throughout that early stage? And will they be able to clean up some of their play? Because they're not looking the cleanest right now either.
So far, not really seeing too much of an impact from 12.14. But on paper, Guldborg, this should be a patch that XL benefits from. Especially when you think about Patrik. He's a big bottom.
That's the thing.
He likes a strong...
You're completely right.
He likes a strong bottom, does he?
He loves a strong bomb. Right. He loves a Kalista. He loves a Draven, as you already mentioned.
That's quite right, yeah.
And you know, strong bottoms, Patrik, yes, playing for Drake, yes, guys. I think it is beneficial to the likes of XL, for sure, like 100%. We've talked about it in Ready Check. We also talked about the weaknesses of G2 as well, not really playing around that bot lane for themselves. And I think that might, of course, come back to hurt them unless they fix some of those early game issues. Because the game is never as black and white as that. We're only bot side priority focused. Because you always have that, like, oh, we have bot priority. Let's move our support up towards the Rift Hell. And you still can play towards the top side that way, like we saw Vitality do earlier today. So I still think they have ways of mitigating the pressure. I think it's just indicating that there's two different stylistics coming through from this game, which that G2 really likes playing top, and XL really likes to playing for that mid-bot lane instead.
Can we also talk about just the sheer improvement of XL this year so far? Because going back to that spring split, no one would have necessarily had them down on their predictions card for potentially going to Worlds, but they're still in contention for a spot.
Yeah, qualifying to playoffs last split was a huge deal for the organization, and I think that coming into the year, people saw the names on the roster and had faith that this team would be able to do something, especially with the addition of Mikyx to the roster. And now they find themselves in Summer with a great start to the season, but with a bit more inconsistencies. And right now, my biggest concern for XL is the rate of growth doesn't seem to be the same as other teams because they already had a very high ceiling coming into the split. But I'm hoping that as we get closer and closer to playoffs, a team that now seems guaranteed almost to make that playoff spot and seem very likely to qualify for Worlds, I'm hoping that we can just see the true potential of this team, especially on a patch that enables that early game focus that they are so well known for.
Well, last game we saw the true potential of our newest LEC duo. It's Troubleshot.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Welcome back to the caster desk. XL are taking on G2. And I think the differences in how these teams play was covered extensively on the analyst desk. We are very, very intrigued at how well G2 are going to handle the early game or how consistent XL can look, because today we've had 4 games in a row that were pretty one-sided.
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the biggest stylistic matchups, because if you see how far behind G2 fall in the early game and how much XL want to dominate that early game, I'd say in typical XL fashion, I'd be very happy playing G2 right now.
Yeah, definitely. Now, just a reminder, the last time these two teams faced, XL lost to G2. and they will be facing off against the 6th man of the Berlin crowd. So many G2 supporters in the house. Let's get ready for draft. So, Trouble, do you think we should prepare ourselves for any shenanigans? I think, for the most part, teams are not changing a whole hell of a lot this weekend on the new patch.
I think it's a lot about figuring out what is first pickable, what is okay to blind pick, what is okay to counter pick with, since a lot of the picks, mainly it's been all about Scorch, spin buff, and the poke, and also second wind that would usually heal all that poke that would come your way has also been nerfed. So they're trying to balance this out, seeing what actually comes out. But I'm really liking the Pantheon ban right there because it suggests to me that Jankos has maybe been practicing that Pantheon.
It does indeed, and Berlin, what do we think of Pantheon? I've been waiting all day for that to happen. It is in the ban pool this time around. But
Zeri?
Yeah, Draven is open as well.
Ooh.
Wukong will be the final ban. The Analyst desk, we're talking a little bit about it. Patrik is the type of player who would be willing to blind pick Draven, but this is where we find out what is their first pick priority.
Excel have been prioritizing that AD carry, but locking in that LeBlanc for Nukeduck with picks like Ari, Lissandra comes to mind as well. Things like Swain that like to create space for your team. I think this is a little bit dangerous right here.
I mean, bold pick. That's the first LeBlanc of summer, only the 3rd of the year. And for Nukeduck, it is his most played champion at 30 games, but he's only won 10 of those. And by the way, Jarvan has been banned 2 of the 4 games already, and it is now drafted first.
But I'm so confused here, Trevor. LeBlanc is very slippery if you usually want to shut down mid. You can't do it with a Jarvan. LeBlanc is just going to jump away from a flag and drag. But right here, Caps is going to reply with that Sylas, which means picks like, nah. If they're locked in for the side of Excel, they're going to be stolen away ultimates for Caps.
Now, of course, with the 2 teams in play, one of the things we were talking about is how we actually wouldn't be surprised to see some shenanigans. This is a little surprising. Nilah is locked in. What do you make of this?
Okay, so apparently she's extremely broken because she has invulnerabilities. She reduces magic damage coming at her. She has something like a counter-strike like Jax has. And double invulnerability right there for you, Trevor.
Oh my word. Okay, so Taric as well. Okay, make some sense of this. Now, Flakked gonna lock in the Sivir.
Okay, so the only thing I'm not sure of is how does Nilah do in the early versus the late game? Because this is the first time I'm going to be seeing her in professional play. And we know that Sivir loves to shove in that lane and play for that late game 2 to 3 item power spike for the side of G2. So I'd love to see how Nilah actually pairs up into that matchup. And of course, what support G2 is going to choose to put next to Flakked, because traditionally G2, in every single game this season they've played on red side, every single one except one, they've always counterpicked support R5 for Targamas.
Oh man, now does this surprise draft from Excel throw a curveball? Vi will be removed from the pool. Markoon has already lost access to that Wukong, the Poppy, the Trundle, the Jarvan. So where does he go to after that? We have seen a couple of Hecarim games, Volibear as well, Viego. So I'm not sure what he wants to run in this particular scenario.
I'd say something that pairs up really well with LeBlanc is something like a Lee Sin. Now, we haven't necessarily seen Markoon play too much Lee Sin, but that is a way to actually capitalize on having that LeBlanc and getting the 2 versus 2. And Lee Sin is actually pretty okay to Jarvan as well. He gets to hop out of the Cataclysm too. So we'll see how G2 actually choose to use that Jarvan in the early game, because so far bot lane seems like a no-go, mid lane seems like a no-go.
I mean, Rakan, Janna banned away. Targamas, does he get the pick now or on R5, as G2 have done so frequently this summer? And of course, we're going to have to find out how this draft from G2 will play out during the course of the early game. They have struggled all summer, and Sejuani will be secured. I'm seeing a death ball.
It's another R5 for Targamas. Yep. This guy has been so integral for G2, roaming around the map, getting the better matchup, and actually capitalizing on shadowing his laners around the map. There's no way. Okay.
Okay, let's focus in now on this composition here from Excel. With so many junglers being banned away, Markoon does have to go down the list. It will be a Viego. How on earth can we set some expectations for this draft to come together, as it looks like it's going to be that Nilah Taric bottom lane if this Ornn gets secured for top?
So what I really like so far here is that they have a scaling jungler for the side of Excel, but you also have a very heavy roaming brawler in the mid lane, which is the LeBlanc. You get to shove in Sylas, who's going to be playing melee form, into you, and then you get to bleed the pressure onto the sides. Now, what does Targamas pick here to roam? Because actually maybe even something like a Pike, now that you have a Sivir on the bot side of the map. Okay, that was anticlimactic.
It could have been, but it's going to pivot away to the Lulu. I think, again, kind of synergizes and fits with this composition. Run forward, you've got the movement speed buff, you've got that ability to wild growth, the LeBlanc target, or that, Viego ultimate. So can work out, but for me, G2 makes perfect, crystal clear sense. Group up, bundle, push. I have no idea what to expect here from Excel, and this first pick LeBlanc as well as Nilah.
I'm just looking at the Jarvan and I'm like, where in the world do you go? Do you pair up together with Sejuani top lane, try to punish a tank to give a kill to another tank? Do you go bot lane where you have a Sivir Lulu and you want to perma-push? Or do they have Taric bot so you can't dive? I'm loving what you do have so far, but it just, for me, the Jarvan right now is a little bit of a head scratcher.
Okay, so then we need to find out what decisions that Jarvan will be making in the early game. Where will Jankos focus his attention? And I definitely want the observers to keep their eyes on this bottom lane. Nilah Taric into Sivir Lulu. I think it's a bold approach here from Excel, as they are tied in the standings with G2, 7 wins, 6 losses apiece.
But I would also like to mention right here that Excel have been really good with the new picks that they're bringing into the meta every single time. Ever since the Korean bootcamp, they've been bringing in the Zeris, the Twitches, the Yumis.
Let's find out if they can make it work again. Excel versus G2. So we hit the rift for the final game of the day, and we get to see our first Nilah in the bottom lane, being piloted here by Patrik, as Targamas is immediately going to step forward, just playing the vision game, no real shenanigans. And trouble, this crowd is so hyped up for G2.
Yeah, I think Broxa said it last week as well. It's so important to have the crowd on your side, because if you don't, you still hear it and you know they're cheering for the opponent team. So it's definitely going to be a confidence boost for G2 hearing the crowd, being with them and cheering for them. And if anything, G2 really need this. I want to remind everyone, last time these two teams met, G2 absolutely obliterated Excel in their game. They choked them down in the early game. Jankos with his Jarvan, even though to me personally doesn't make much sense, he needs to make things done in the early game.
Well, let's find out if he can do it again. Patrik is stepping forward. Flakked and Targamas waiting, but they will get spotted up by that ward in the river. And I do just want to throw down the gauntlet to the fans here in Berlin, because despite the cheers, those stats, Berlin, are G2's early game. 23% of the game's first blood, 10th. First dragon, 10th. Goal difference at 8 minutes, as well as that KD sitting at 10th. This is a team that, despite their week 1 victory over Excel, I think have had more struggles, and they haven't been able to really challenge in their early game. They need to survive and have those comeback wins.
Absolutely, and on the other hand, Excel have arguably looked a lot more consistent. Again, ever since that Korean bootcamp, they've come into the league knowing exactly what game they want to play. Proactive jungler into roaming mid lane and bleed the pressure into the map. Kind of like Mad-esque and what Mad usually likes to do. And they've also been pretty consistent at doing that. Look at that. Nukeduck instantly shoves in the first wave, goes into Fog of War.
Yeah, he does. Threatens at least some sort of room, some sort of pressure.
Could be jungle pressure as well.
And I'm going to just say it out loud that I think G2 are the underdogs in this matchup, just based on recent performance, based on what we've seen throughout the course of summer, despite their standings looking the same. But I am very intrigued by Excel. This was not a draft I was anticipating, and Patrik right now is being shoved underneath the turrets. No surprise, really, against both Sivir and Lulu. And he's currently down just 5 CS. I want to keep track of how much of a difference that makes. We did catch a glimpse, by the way, of BrokenBlade shoving into Finn.
Yeah, and now that we're looking at Nilah as well, she's a little bit similar to Samira, and she also has that AoE ultimate when she goes into a team fight, but then you're walking into a team fight of a Sylas, a Lulu, a Sejuani, a Jarvan. So we'd have to keep our eyes onto Patrik, because as much as he's the bus driver, one wrong move and that bus driver gets out the window.
And keep an eye on those levels. Patrik and Mikyx already level 3 into the level 2s of Flakked and Targamas. Markoon making a little shadow of an appearance in that bottom lane. Jankos doing the same up top as the Scuttle Crabs not going to be challenged. It does look like Finn was considering backing, but he's not overextending. He's not opening an opportunity for Jankos.
I was about to say, but Jankos is still towards that top side of the map, and he might actually be waiting around. He's going to stay into Fog of War, maybe wait for Finn to walk towards that river and try to pick up a fight. Right here, Finn is looking for his wave to be crushed, and this is going to not necessarily be the case, so he's going to need to stick around for a little longer. BrokenBlade, though, does have a bunch of mana to burn if he needs to shove it quick.
BrokenBlade's also got that Ignite available.
Oh, here we go.
Flag and drag over the wall. Bellows breath comes out from Finn. The knock-up, the flash over the wall. Now BrokenBlade is chasing. Jankos waiting for that E to come up. It is available. Markoon now stepping forward to try cut off Caps, who's being flanked by Nukeduck as well.
Oh,
the chains don't find a target. Finn, Bellows breath does a lot of damage, but first blood is secured by G2 and the crowd goes wild. Markoon's trying to chase forward with those auto attacks and will get a reply.
And that is absolute chaos 4 minutes in. Quick reminder, last time G2 were able to shut down Excel was through mid-jungle synergy, shutting down Nukeduck. This time G2 are hitting towards the top side of the map. And this was the head scratcher we're talking about when we looked at the Jarvan, right? Where do you play? You go mid, LeBlanc is very slippery. You go top, you give a kill to your tank. How much can BrokenBlade give to this game playing that Sejuani, not necessarily on a carry? And you can see Jankos here spent so much time waiting around to try and kill an Ornn. Ornn is an assassin, marksman, mage at this point, anything. He does so much damage onto BrokenBlade, who actually has even the Ignite. And through all this time, you'll see on your minimap that Caps is roaming first, but very crucially misses the chain. Finn sidesteps it, which means Nukeduck and Markoon are there in time to punish and turn that kill around. Now, I'm pretty sure the kill went over to Markoon. So you've got 1 kill on a tank, 1 kill onto somebody who can carry the game. The trade goes over to Excel.
It does indeed. Even as far as gold is concerned, I really appreciate how Finn moved around that scenario. Very briefly, I just want to highlight the synergy you just talked about. Trouble, Markoon and Nukeduck, the dynamic duo that have done a great job this summer. When you look at their kills and assists, their kill participation, they've worked together, they've found advantages, and a lot of the time, when they are in the lead early, it's because of these two players. And look, once again, Markoon is going to be flanked by Mikyx in the middle lane, trying or potentially...
Oh, BrokenBlade level 6, he's already in the mid lane though.
Okay, Glacial Prison needs to find a target. Markoon's only level 5. Nukeduck is going to be able to escape with that Mimic for now. Now Markoon stepping forward again, no Heartbreaker. Patrik gets the first kill. The flag and drag is dashed away from his Cap, stole that Heartbreaker and used it as an escape. Excel get another.
And Excel is so quick to reply on the map. Even Patrik actually roamed towards that mid lane to cover for Nukeduck. They knew that BrokenBlade would be roaming really quickly, and we said this about Sejuani. Level 6, you've got such a strong button for engage. BrokenBlade would get there the second he hits level 6, but look at the top side of the map. BrokenBlade is only 400 gold ahead through that kill, and Finn is actually very happy to catch up and scale, whilst on the other hand side, Markoon on the Viego has cashed in on a kill. Patrik Patrik onto Nilah has cast in on the kill, and these two are two carries on the side of Excel with more money in their pockets.
I mean, that's exactly how Excel were hoping this would play out. Patrik stepping forward, looking for that stun. It's spell shielded by Flakked. A return damage from those ricochets doing work. The cleanse is used, and now Mikyx steps his way forward. There was some support from Markoon, and there's no teleports available from G2's side, so no further push. Instead, Excel, after shoving that wave, step into the darkness, and they will just get themselves a back. So looking for that pressure, looking to play into Flakked and Targamas, but they didn't get any summoners. They just got a good damage trade.
But there you see how much trade you can put down, and that's even before Nilah gets to back and cash in on new items. And honestly, Markoon was over there to shadow, crushing the wave from the side of Patrik and Mikyx. And now, this is usually the time where you will see the supports actually roaming the map. But this time for Excel, it's not just the support that's roaming the map. Both the bot laners are heading towards that Herald. They want to get that early game aggression through Shelly, getting more tire platings, potentially putting them towards Patrik as well, getting that Nilah ready and started.
And of course, for anybody keeping tabs, Patrick's Nilah is busy maxing that Q. Currently has Conqueror. You can see the rest on the Masteries. While XL are starting the Herald, G2 will be able to start the Dragon, which is uncontested. Of course, the lane swaps have now come into effect. Minor gold lead for XL. They were the first ones to make the move. I think you could make a defendable argument. The Herald is theoretically a higher value objective if you can use it to get those plates. And that's maybe what is going to happen in that top lane. Jankos still slowly chipping away at the Dragon. You can already see 3 members of XL and a big wave up top.
G2 is in trouble though, because they might actually get dive level 7 for Markoon, and Caps is the first one to roam towards the top side of the map. Jankos is heading towards that as well. And it's just purely so they can shadow the fact that Flakked and Targamas are playing underneath the tower. Targamas is level 5, so very diveable, because as you can see, Mikyx has that level 6. He can pop the invulnerability down, and they can try to dive. So really quick reactions by the mid lane and jungle from the side of G2, trying to make sure that their bot lane doesn't get dive and goes further behind.
And of course, that Cosmic Radiance could be huge if Caps is able to jump onto the right target. It's such a difficult ultimate to pull off, because you have to be able to read that fight so incredibly well. But it could be the game changer. Again, we talked a little bit about damage, we talked a little bit about the compositions. You see, it's really primarily this Sylas and Sivir duo that have to kill through everybody.
And I'm a little bit worried if I'm G2 here, because Jankos on that Jarvan, even though we know he loves the champion, proactivity in the early game hasn't necessarily netted him much positives. He's 0 and 2, he's 1,000 gold down, his counterpart Markoon. Markoon is playing on an ever-scaling late-game champion like the Viego. You're gonna get ornaments later on from the Ornn as well, and Nukeduck on this LeBlanc, he's got 3, maybe 4 targets he can go towards. He's already level 8, Jankos is level 6, then you've got a pretty squishy Lulu and Sivir towards the bot side of the map. So you've got plenty of targets you can poke out of fights.
Yeah, and of course, it's something I always talk about. The champions that are picked very early in a draft, I have high expectations for what the team will do with those champions. Nukeduck's first pick, LeBlanc, so far, he's doing okay. Jankos on that Jarvan, I haven't yet seen the influence. It's only 1,000 gold difference. Okay, Berlin, just very quickly while I have a moment, I want to play a game with you. And the game is, will Caps be able to lead the league in deaths in summer? What you're looking at is the total number of deaths before today's game started. Now, Gilly has picked up 5 deaths in their loss to Fnatic, meaning he's at 53. And if Caps wants to claim that prestigious title, he will need to die 6 times. Let's see if he can do it.
Finn is roaming towards the top side of the map. The bot lane is in trouble.
What a stun! Mickey and Markoon, the M&M duo, setting it up. Heartbreaker will secure the kill onto Targamas. BrokenBlade will be flanked by Caps. That's a hijacked Ornn ultimate, knocked backwards, sending XL flying. Here comes Markoon for the re-engage as Jankos flags, drags, and cataclysms his way into Markoon's face. chase. Another kill secured. This time it's Nukeduck that picks it up as Flakked gets the first for G2 in the fight. It's not done yet as Caps and Flakked trying to hold off the siege. The tower is being chunked out as Shelly's been summoned. And Markoon continues the chase. Flash forward into Ethereal Chains will root up one. Caps survives thanks to the Lulu shield, but not much longer. Markoon 3-0-2, and they could continue the push.
And Markoon is one of the most aggressive junglers we have over in the LEC. I have been casting this guy's career ever since he stepped foot in the NLC. He's been aggressive ever since. He never changed his playstyle ever since he joined the LEC, and right now it's paying off. 100% kill participation from the Excel jungler, and Excel are doing the same thing. They're trying to dive the bot lane of G2 over and over again. They know they have the invulnerability if they want to dive, but there's not even a tower to dive. Targamas and Flakked are playing between tier 1 and tier 2, which means Excel don't even have to worry about tower shots, and by the time the rest of the G2 members arrive, Excel are still with numbers advantage here.
I mean, such a fantastic start with that two-man dazzle, and I think, again, an example of Excel being first to the play, being ahead of G2 throughout the course of this game. They've extended that gold lead to nearly 3,000. And this team composition that Excel have put together really does well in these scattered fights. They can pick off the targets they want to. They've got a lot of mobility in CC. And Markoon dancing on the edge of safety. He's 3-0-2. He's now such a power to contend with.
Oh no, Nukeduck though uses W. He doesn't have R available. He will be mobile for a little bit.
He will indeed. Caps has been able to at least hijack the ult team. That's the passive from Nukeduck, and it should be an easy secure. Caps will be able to pick that one up.
Very
so
nice.
Punished.
Very nice punish right there by the mid-jungle duo. Again, the reason they were able to beat Excel last time was through Caps and Jankos shutting down Nukeduck. But I don't think Nukeduck is the guy you need to worry about.
No, you don't. Markoon's going to go forward, targeting Targamas, pulled backwards as Patrik is tanking out the tower. They're not going to be able to find the kill thanks to that wild growth. Cataclysm is available. Jankos flags, drags, and dunks down onto Patrik. He's already used that apotheosis, and that's one more for G2. Markoon is the next target as Flakked takes down Mikyx, and Markoon may not be able to escape. Shut down. G2 right back in it.
Over-aggression from Excel, instant punish from G2, and Berlin is going mad. G2 really needs this if they want to pull this back. Only 800 gold deficit. That's going to be their second dragon as well, and some kills are going the right way to the carries. One for Caps, shut down onto Nukeduck. Two for Flakked onto that Sivir that wants these 2-3 items onto her to start doing damage. And let's watch this again. They know that Nukeduck is dead, and Caps and Jankos are towards the tops of the map. So again, they have numbers advantage. But what's happening here is that Patrik starts by tanking the tower, which means he has to leave from that engage very early on, even though he has that shield bow. And by that time, Jankos has roamed all the way from the top side of the map. They catch them. BrokenBlade also is into the play, and they actually punish that 3-man core from Excel for overextending.
Exceptional punish from G2. Will secure the second dragon of the game as well. And that 1,000 gold difference really is irrelevant at this point in time. I think crucial to call out, Excel, the 2 times they've been punished in the last couple of minutes, they were the ones either out of position or starting that fight. Markoon unable to find the dazzle, unable to take down either Flakked or Targamas. That means they get punished, but they are able to at least maintain some level of control, picking up the second heralds.
I'd say Excel have been pretty consistent with extending their leads. Ever since they get something in the early game, they'll keep consistently being really aggressive with very quick, fast-thinking macro on the map. And that's exactly what they did right there. There were 2 members of G2 towards the tops of the map. They tried to pull in a dive. It goes wrong because Patrik was tanking it from the get-go. Right now, still, this Nilah is very strong. We haven't necessarily seen Nukeduck in any of these big fights that are about to break out yet. So just wait for this LeBlanc and the impact he's going to make, because again, that LeBlanc was B1'd.
Oh, that means there's a lot of pressure to step up and find those picks. Caps is now under some level of pressure here. We'll be able to look for those chains. Nukeduck stepping forward. The Heartbreaker comes out, and this should be a kill secure. Caps down to 200 hit points, and on the mini-map, no one else really available. No real, cross maps available. G2 will concede their 6th death of the game. And we're getting into this territory where both teams are just throwing down for the skirmishes. They are just committing to whatever farm is in front of them. and we've seen punishments on both sides.
And you'll see that G2 is right now trying to play away from the Fed members of Excel. Wherever Markoon is, G2 are playing towards the bot side of the map. Is Markoon gonna go top side? You see that BrokenBlade shoves in the bot wave, they put down Vision down there, and then they use Flakked and Targamas to push in through mid lane. So at this point, if you are G2, you definitely want to be playing away from this Viego, trying to get some tanky items onto your Sejuani, try to get Flakked onto that level 11, get 2 to 3 items onto the Sivir, and try to play for teamfights, because again, Nilah is very strong, but it's almost like a melee AD carry. It's kind of like Samira. When she ults, she wants to go into many members and ult them together. It's kind of like a shockwave from Orianna. So the second Patrik overextends or goes too deep into a fight, he can get instantly punished.
I mean, that's exactly what Excel will be looking for. If they can go for either Flakked or Caps, get rid of one of those primary or sort of, you know, one of the only 2 core damage dealers. But for G2, it's going to be very important for them to peel and to protect. I mean, you've got that Sejuani that can both go offensive or defensive. For the time being, BrokenBlade's the only member of G2 with that gold lead. Plus 30 CS, plus 1,300 gold, 103. This Sejuani having significantly more impact than what we saw in the previous game. And we're 1.5 minutes until this next dragon. And Trouble, it looks to me like Excel may want to challenge it.
And look at that. The mid-jungle duo from G2, again, roaming the map together. This is how G2 want to solve that early game, making sure you shadow Caps so he doesn't die on the side lane, gets to push that wave, gets these levels onto the Sylas. Level 12 right now, has 2 points into the ultimate. Let's see if Caps will be able to steal. If you steal Taric ultimate right here, you're invulnerable. If you steal Ornn ultimate, you can actually engage from super far away.
Yeah, so many interesting options. I mean, even if Caps were to steal Nilah's ultimate, would also be hugely impactful. Markoon's going to drop Rift Heraldry on the middle lane. Finn is already here. BrokenBlade's going to teleport to that inner turret. And with the mid tower falling, Excel could peel backwards towards the dragon. 40 seconds until it spawns. And both teams 5v5 there are setting up for the engage.
I'd say what's going to happen right here is G2 are going to have to try and fight for that mid wave, making sure they can get into this river from multiple positions. But Excel do not want to let them.
Who's going to pull the trigger first? I'm waiting for the prison. I'm waiting for the call of the Forge God. If anybody is just marginally out, it will go. Nukeduck dashes forward with the distortion and hops right back to his original position. G2 shoved the wave forward, but XL are in the river.
I'd say eyes on BrokenBlade. He has the trigger in his hands. If he catches anyone with that ultimate, G2 are gonna pile up on top of that member and kill them before Taric ultimate takes turn.
And the moment that engage comes down, follow Caps and Flakked's HP bars. XL need to take them down. The Dazzle finds the root, the flag, and the drag from Jankos does wonders. The Cosmic Radiance will buy some time as Jankos is forced to flash defensively. Nobody's died just yet, and the prison will whiff. Caps is stepping forward. He's got the Heartbreaker available to him. The chains will whiff, and Mikyx is able to escape. Now Finn, the next target, stashing forward. Caps will be able to find one. It's Flakked that actually gets the last hit, and now Markoon's the target. Another for Flakked, a third for Flakked, and it's G2 that destroy XL.
And XL pile up into this choke point. Nuke that goes too deep. No one touches Flakked the entirety of the time. And we said if anyone gets the kills from G2, it has to be this Sivir. And it has been Flakked this entire time. He went under the radar. He was shoving in waves. He was getting the gold. He was getting the items. And now that he has 3 beefy members standing in front of him, he was untouched and cleans up house for G2.
I mean, I'm going to keep my eyes now on how Flakked is positioning, and put yourself in XL's shoes. How do they get through this front line onto the damage dealers?
I mean, look at that. While the ultimate from Taric is going down, Jankos is keeping 4 members busy and survives, which means now that the Taric ultimate is not a thing, now that Nukeduck is very low HP, you get to start chasing because you have Caps, you've got BrokenBlade and Jankos that can dive in with really big HP bars and allow Sivir to just run them down.
It really feels like as soon as XL are retreating with this composition, it loses a lot of the synergies and the values. Patrik on this Nilah hasn't necessarily taken over the game, as Jankos will stay alive a couple seconds longer to get back to his team and escape with his life. Trouble. G2 have the kill lead, have the dragon lead, have a minor gold lead, and are showing they can navigate these team fights well.
Very importantly, the guy who has most of their lead, which is, yes, only 100 gold, but he is on the Sivir, and he is their weapon right now, has purchased a stopwatch as well. So G2 are looking, they're praying for that next fight. Frozen Heart completed for BrokenBlade, huge, because Nilah wants to play really close up and personal to the team fights. Hourglass also completed for Caps, which means he gets to overextend and stay alive for a few more seconds. Keep your eyes on these 2 stopwatches. 3, Jankos gets one for himself as well. I think the fact that G2 right now have 3 stasis on their side means they're looking to fight.
And of course, with the fact that it is an Infernal Soul, that is exactly what the Sylas and Sivir will be looking for. BrokenBlade waiting in
There's
the
no
wings.
flash on Patrik, but there's cleanse.
Markoon could be a target, holding onto the trigger. No Arctic Assault forward. Mikyx now a little bit separated. Nukeduck's up in that top lane. Just want to highlight 2 towers apiece at 22 minutes into the game, so there's still a lot of safety to fall back to. There's out to turrets. And at least for now, G2 will clear that vision out. I really think this next dragon is so huge. Excel cannot afford to give up that soul.
And again, we need to see the LeBlanc getting into the play. You don't necessarily have to kill someone, but poking someone completely out of the fight gives the numbers advantage to Excel. If they want to fight the next dragon, they need vision. They need to somehow wrap Nukeduck around, try to threaten Targamas or Flakked, push them out the fight, and then try to win this fight 5 versus 4.
That's exactly the game plan. Is the vision set up to do that? Right now, a couple of wards from Excel
There's a Skull Crab
in that upper quadrant. Crab just secured. There's not the earliest of setups, but I think now we're going to start seeing both teams potentially pushing these waves out, potentially setting up for either the dragon or, right now, G2 grouping for top tower. And if they can get any sort of advantage, they can peel back to that Baron.
And G2 are mostly where Caps is at this point. When they put Caps on the sideline, specifically when he doesn't have his flash available, we've seen Jankos shadowing him through the map, making sure that he stays healthy, he stays alive, shoving that wave, get even more global gold for the team. Right now they're sitting at 1.5k, let's say, in the lead. But he goes back, he grabs a few more components. This Sylas gets even stronger, gets even beefier to play in that front line.
That's exactly like the benefit here for G2, because the longer the Caps can stay alive, the more impact he's going to have. His entire kit can do so much. And there's a lot of versatility in that hijack. Again, vision dependent, setup dependent. A minute 20, top tower was secured, so G2 have got at least 3 for now. The vision in the river. Neither team really got deep vision for their opponents. But I think the pressure is here on Excel. How can Excel set up for this fight? Because it felt like they, had a good initiation against G2 around the last dragon, but they just couldn't get the damage on the targets.
Well, first of all, they're going to have to actually fight for that mid lane wave and contest that and make sure that the first ones that walk inside the river, make sure that G2 are walking through a choke point, they have the ore, knock many people up.
And that's, of course, the initiation. A lot of damage onto BrokenBlade. The Wild Growth is still available. Caps is going to hijack the Cosmic Radiance. That is a game changer. Has to be a consideration for Excel.
G2 are like, fine, we have 3 dragons, we can get soul in 5 minutes. But there's only 1 Baron on the map right now, and if G2 take this, they'll take control of the side lanes as well. Excel really have to face check right there.
They really do. I think that Cap showed in the top lane. He's already made it back to the squad. Another 5v5 setup. Gigantic initiation tools available for both Cosmic Radiance, still available for Caps. Cataclysm is flashed away from by Mikyx, and that's at least the hijacked Cosmic used. BrokenBlade split off from the rest of the team. Finn will get that knock up. Call of the Forge God will whiff and not find further. The re-engage coming from G2 will be thwarted by the Cosmic Radiance. Excel need to get the damage down, but they can't do it. They can't touch Flakked. They cannot find the bot laner. 1, 2, 3, 4 kills secured already, and Jankos is trying to hunt down Nukeduck. It may just be a matter of time.
Oh, Targamas gonna flash forward for the ace! And G2 win a very crucial fight. Again, Excel pile up on the choke points. Flakked untouched the exact same time. And not only are they gonna take the Baron Trevor, but they're also gonna take that very needed Infernal Soul. I think the crowd buff is working for G2.
The crowd in Berlin are going ballistic. Another excellent team fight. I need to keep track on how well G2 defended their bot lane now.
Look at Patrik right here. Look at Patrik and keep your eyes on him the entire fight, because we said that Nilah fights pretty much similarly to Samira. So she wants to be face into all the members of G2. But this G2 composition is very anti-melee. And as you'll see, Patrik will dash in, get his ultimate, trying to catch G2 off guard. He'll do it right now. Dives in, presses ult, but he's in the middle of 5 members from G2 who are extremely beefy. And through this entire time, Flakked has been completely untouched. The ricochets from Sivir are absolutely wrecking the Excel members that are piling up through that ramp.
I mean, all 5 of them, beautiful ricochet targets. Great, great fight. This will extend that lead. So Sol was secured, Baron was secured, and G2 are now just tearing through this middle lane. BrokenBlade stepping forward, Glacial Prison is available to him. If we get a moment's left, I want to see how much damage Flakked has been able to deal throughout the course of this game. Finn, by the way, is trying to get something in the bottom lane, but he needs to be with his team to defend.
Finn is your go button. If you're Excel, you cannot have your own in the front line, because G2 are just going to walk in. There is nobody that poses a threat of engage to G2 if Ornn is not there. So G2 are just going to walk in, take your main middle inhibitor, and Finn only replies with a side lane tower. 22k almost from this Sivir. The closest one is 14.
I mean, 7-0-5 for Flakked right now. He's been untouched through multiple fights, and it's G2 on the initiation. Caps takes a lot of damage, but Mikyx forced to use the ulti already. The Forge Guard goes through, spell shielded by Flakked, who finishes off that inner turret. The re-engage, and Patrik is being forced away by BrokenBlade. That's another kill for Flakked. He's legendary, a double. And G2 are now setting their sights on the Nexus. They're pouring into the base. The Red Bull Baron power play is still in effect, and those minions are going to help tear through this Nexus turret.
And the guy who was criticized in spring comes into this game, takes the resources and carries the team to victory.
G2 Esports are not done yet. They continue the chase onto Nukeduck and Mikyx, looking for a couple extra kills. One last XL member standing is dropped inside of the base. G2 dominate XL. Those team fights were beautiful from G2's perspective. Maybe optimistic from XL's perspective, constantly into those narrow choke points.
I have to say, Nilah just felt so difficult to play into so many melee champions that want to CC lock you in place. Again, it's a Samira-esque type of champion. You dive into Lulu, Sejuani, caps on the Sylas. You're going to get locked down, CC'd. And Patrik was just not able to play these fights in the choke points.
No, absolutely not. G2 fans here in Berlin will be very happy with that result. It will move G2 to 8 wins, 6 losses, and again, crucially, 2-0 over XL. As we look ahead towards the end of the season, and a bit of a surprising result. I think I have to give some credit to G2. They were under pressure early game. They fell a little behind, but in comparison to previous weeks, they were able to find some punches back.
I'd say multiple members stepped up the second they fell behind. Jankos and Caps together linked up as a duo were finding the side lane picks. What did that create? Pressure for XL to reply there. Flakked went completely under the radar, pressure in the lane, getting even more gold, while Jankos and Caps were creating that pressure. And BrokenBlade 1-0 and 15. He got ahead in the early game, provided his team with beautiful engages, and survived the entirety of the time playing in the front line. Really great stuff.
That Jarvan, by the way, 100% kill participation.
You know what? I'll eat my words next time, Trevor.
I mean, it was a very interesting draft. We were not necessarily expecting the way it played out. I will have some key player of the game nominees for you as soon as I see the graphic. Vote at LEC on Twitter. BrokenBlade, Jankos, or Flakked. This is actually so tough because...
Okay, this is difficult.
It truly was just defined by those team fights, and G2 were able to thwart off all the pressure. I don't think XL executed their comp well enough. They just barreled forward.
Okay, so we make it a little bit easy for people. Is it BrokenBlade for creating beautiful engages and being the front line of Flakked? Is it Jankos for creating pressure so Flakked can farm into the late game? Or is it Flakked not dying the entire time and putting down all that DPS that G2 needed to come back into the game?
All three? Why not all three? The thing that I find most intriguing about these last two results, with Mad Lions and Excel going down, arguably the favorites in both of the respective matches, the top of the table and the 2-0s that are going to be in one or another team's favor is going to be super, super important as we look forward, to tomorrow's games, to Super Week next week. And for G2, this is huge, super, super valuable against another team right next to you in the standings. That does it from Trouble and I. We're going to head to stage where Laure is standing by with Flakked.
Thank you, Quickshot. Flakked, thank you for joining me. Also, congrats on taking down Excel today. Quick hit on Nilah. It's the first time we see the champion. You laned against it. What's your take on how strong it can be? Because it wasn't so successful, for example.
I mean, I kind of think that the champion is like a better version of Samira. So, of course, there are some comps or some matchups that are like really rough for her. And, I mean, I still don't know much about the champion, right? Like, I didn't play it much. But, I mean, for sure, in some comps can look really strong.
All right. We'll see if we can see the champion later on. But focusing on G2, Quickshot was highlighting the fact that, yet again, you fell behind in early, which is a tendency we see for G2 so far in summer. I'm sorry about that, but that is... Actually, I have stats to back this up. You had a deficit at 8 minutes in 11 of the 13 games you played.
I think we need the stats.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah.
What makes it difficult in early game?
I mean, I think our main issue was like communication early game. I mean, of course, like there are some games that we lost early game because mechanical misplays. But I think for sure, like the worst thing we had was our communication. And actually, it's something that we are really improving. And actually, this week we were like really confident, everyone, that we are gonna like smash early game and be really ahead. And again, we really entered early game. But I think it's getting way better. And usually, when we start losing early game, we just like lose whole game. But actually, this time we lost early game as well. But the game was playable, and we actually managed to take the win. So we're making progress.
You're making progress indeed. But with that confidence, when you look ahead at the G2 Fnatic match of the week we have tomorrow, what makes you think you're going to take them down? Yeah, give me a couple examples as to why you will take down Fnatic.
I mean, I think we're going to win. I mean, of course, I think like. In scrims, we're playing really well, and actually, we are playing like way better. Like we played way better on stage like these last weeks. So I'm really confident on the game, and as well, I think us and Fnatic both are looking sometimes like really shaky in some games. So I think everything can happen, but I think we're gonna win.
I just expect a bloody game, honestly, from this one. You mentioned the stage, of course. We have to show these guys who stayed during the interview. Is there anything you want to say to them? The G2 fan club is getting louder and louder every week, even more loud than Jankos at this point.
I mean, I would just like to say, guys, thank you all for cheering for us. We love you a lot. Oh my God. Soon. I mean, but yeah, like today, I don't know, it was really wild today. I don't know, like, in draft, it was like really hard to hear anything because it was like, all the time. But I mean, it really bangs and it's really, really hype and really nice to play in front of a crowd, especially if the crowd is like fucking crazy. So it's really nice. So thank you guys.
Thank you guys in Berlin, Flakked. Thank you so much. Hopefully this energy can carry you in the rest of the season, and that's all for us now. We're gonna take a short break and we'll be back in just a couple minutes with post-game lobby. Stay tuned, guys.